Hey everyone, this is Gary K. To all my AV tweeps out there. One of the big companies has grown a lot in the last year, actually in the last few years, because of collaboration, has been ClearOne. And certainly one of everyone's favorite products that they have is the BMA 360. And I've got David Lambert, the VP of audio technologies from ClearOne here with me today. David, how are you doing?
Hi, Gary. Thanks for having me on.
Well, look, the BMA 360, regardless of what people think about it, sort of set a new standard for our industry. And you call it, from a marketing standpoint, the world's most technologically advanced audio product. Tell us why you say that.
Yeah, so this has a lot of new technology in it that makes it a great sounding beamformer. Just a quick little history. So about 8 years ago, we introduced the first beamforming microphone array.
Yep.
And great product, changed the way you could microphone a conference room. A lot of people loved it, great technology. Since then, we've come out with several new versions of that, each time making improvements to the audio. And this latest is our BMA 360, and it's got several new features in there. The first one is, we call it FI beam. It's a technology that stands for frequency invariance beamforming. And what that means is that at different frequencies, the shape of the beam is the same. Many times, if you look at microphones, at different frequencies, the shape of the beam will be different. 1 kilohertz looks different than 2 kilohertz, which looks different than 4 kilohertz. And so this new technology makes it so that the shape of the beam is actually the same at all those different frequencies. And what this does is it makes the voice sound much more natural. Great, natural, smooth sound while you're in the conference room.
And so when they sort of like drone off, you can still hear when people change their inflection of their voice and the tone of their voice, it all sounds like normal conversation rather than, I missed the last 2 words you just said, which is what you hear a lot of time in a conference. You have something else called DS beam. And I know you just explained what FI beam means. What's DS beam?
Yeah, DS beam is another great new technology that we've introduced. This stands for deep sidelobe beamforming. So on many microphones, the side lobes, if you look at a polar plot, the side lobes will come up, and those side lobes are going to pick up reflections in the room or other noise in the room, not going to have as good of experience. With deep side lobe beamforming, we keep those side lobes down, and we show those on our polar plots, where you have the main beam nice and smooth, but then we don't have side lobes that are shooting out the sides that can cause artifacts.
So does that mean that if I'm in a meeting and someone in the back of the room is opening up their notebook and shuffling papers, that's the technology that blocks that out? Somebody opening a chip bag in the back corner of a room, is that different? Is that the audio intelligence part of your product?
So if they are off beam, they're going to be rejected.
Okay.
And they can be rejected by as much as minus 40 dB. Wow. And minus 40 dB is 100 times smaller. So if you are off axis out of that beam, the audio that it picks up is minus 40 dB.
So the key is the design of the room to make sure you know where the hot spots are or the key spots are in design. That's what blew me away when I first saw your technology 7 or 8 years ago at a show. You had this demo where you showed how you could like move around and still have the same sound regardless of where you were, and it blew my mind.
Right.
So the beam, you talked about it being a new approach to beamforming. What exactly is different about this than the previous versions? Like, beamforming, doesn't mean, from what I gather, the same thing today as it did 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, so something you just mentioned, you talk about being able to walk around the room at different places, in different chairs, in different positions of the room. You can still be heard and get picked up. We're very proud of that technology. And that's this new topology where you are not individually configuring beams. You put this ceiling tile up in the ceiling, You choose a basic shape, whether you've got a square room, a rectangular room, you're in a classroom, and the beams are configured so that we just cover the room. You don't have to go in and tune an individual beam. And what this allows is someone, if they're sitting and then they decide to get up and talk at the whiteboard, they're still going to get picked up. If they turn in their chair or move side to side, they're still going to sound just as good as when they're in their original position.
Are you on the 360 right now? Is that what you're
I
talking
am
about?
not.
Okay, I was
Yeah,
going to
I
say,
am not on the 360.
yeah, we should do a demo sometime. I think that'd be a lot of fun for
Yeah.
people to see.
No,
In fact,
yeah,
in
absolutely.
January, we're
do
going to
that.
do like a microphone shoot, a beamforming microphone shootout. I'd love for you to join us on that. So I'll send you more information on that.
Yeah.
So you told me why the down 40 dB is important, because 100 times, I mean, that blows my mind. And that's that deep side lobe beamforming technology you have. Smart switching, do you have it AEC? Is it compatible? Where do you stand on that?
So we have built-in echo cancellation. The great thing about that is this beamformer can be used with lots of different types of conferencing equipment, and it doesn't consume the echo cancelers in the DSP mixer. So we have built-in echo cancellation, built-in noise cancellation, built-in automatic level control, filters, pretty much everything to make a great sounding conference. And so it's almost like it's ready to go. You don't have to do much configuration because we've already done the hard thinking of what you're going to need for a great sounding conference.
And as far as compatibility with all the different platforms, I mean, you have your own UCC platform, but of course there's a lot of them out there now, and there's more coming. Like, I mean, even you see Facebook getting into this. We've seen Google making it play with meets. I mean, are you compatible with all of them, and are you certified in the sense that when it's plug and play for the room products, or is it just look like any other source would be on a USB or network connectivity?
Yeah, so our BMA 360 works together with our CP2 DSP mixer. From there, we're compatible with all different kinds of conferencing systems. All the main ones where you would plug in a USB audio cable or through an analog connection. And so we can connect to any of the popular conferencing systems.
For a typical classroom that's going to seat 25 students, do you need two, or do one handle a room like that?
So it depends. Smaller classrooms, one would be able to cover both the instructor and the students. As you increase in size, probably when you start to get more than like 24 by 24 feet, you would then want to add a second one. And that's where it's great, is we can daisy chain multiple BMA 360s on one cable. That cable provides both power and data. And all of the smart switching is done in a way that it will combine the three beamformers to make it sound great. So now you don't have to worry about trying to figure out gating groups, which beams go where. It's all that's done.
And you said one cable carries it all. Is it PoE, or is it a special, you're doing something custom?
So we have a link called P-Link, stands for peripheral link. And that is our proprietary link.
Okay.
But we use the PoE standard to carry power. So we use off-the-shelf PoE injectors to power these devices.
And of course, you can see more of it at clearone.com. By the way, ClearOne's got a brand new website. So if you haven't been there in the last 6 months, you should go, because it's really good. It's one of the best websites in our industries right now. Look, David, thank you very much. I love this kind of education because I'm an audite. In other words, I really know and live video, and I have learned audio sort of like begrudgingly over the years, and I've come away with a great appreciation for how audio is a combination of science, technology, but also art. There's some art in it as well, because the acoustical design properties and still making a room still look good, so you're not filling it up with mics and speakers. And I think this new beamforming technology made all the difference. I really appreciate this kind of education. So thank you very much for joining me on today's special version of our Rants and Rays video cast. And of course, you can find out more information about ClearOne at clearone.com. I'll put a link into connect with David Lambert on this in this as well as a link to the BMA 360. I'm sure you've heard about it. David, thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, Gary. Thanks for having me today.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for listening. Of course, all of our rAVe Radio videocast podcasts at ravepubs.com.